All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Creators Lounge podcast. I'm your host, Ben J. And today we have a new setup. We're actually doing video streaming for the podcast, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. And a couple other firsts for this episode. First time interviewing a future funk artist, and first time doing an artist from the Netherlands. All right, my man. Intro, please. What is your name? Where are you from? What do you do?
Hi everyone, my name is Trikronika. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm 23 years old and I guess I make music.
All right. Yeah, I think you make music anyway. So let's start from the beginning, my man. How did you get into music production?
Ooh, I guess when I was like 12 years old, I got my first home PC. It's like the second-hand thing my brother used to use, and he just gave it to me without removing any programs. And back then he had like a very old version of Fruity Loops Studio on it. I was like, what is this? And I started using it, and that's actually just the way it began.
Dude, that's crazy. I can really relate to that because whenever I was like around that age, I inherited like my family's computer. So it's like, I started using it. But that's really cool that he like had FL Studio on there. And so you just got into that, started making music. What kind of music were you making at that time?
I was actually just messing around with the sounds back then, like the stock drum sounds, the stock plugins. So I was just messing around. Nothing really in particular. Nothing too of a genre, so to say.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're messing around in FL Studio, just messing with the stock. At what point did you start taking it more seriously? Was that like a year later, 2 years later?
Oh, I have to actually look back at that. I mean, I think it was maybe even 3 years later or 2 years later. I guess when my brother got older as well, he's 6 years older than me. He really back in the day, he was really into hip hop and that stuff. So I guess I tried that for a bit. And he also introduced me to a lot of like Daft Punk and a lot of French house. And yeah, so that was, I think that's the thing I did, like try to even remake Daft Punk songs. That's what I did for years, just to, in order to learn more for myself.
Right, man.
In production.
No, exactly, and that's a great way for a lot of artists to start, is just by taking like project files and then breaking it down and kind of seeing how stuff comes together. Doing remakes and stuff like that. That's really cool. So you had a lot of influence from your brother then, like he's the one who got you started on FL indirectly. He got you into hip-hop, Daft Punk, etc. And I'm curious about your other musical influences, like as a kid, like growing up. What kind of music did you listen to back then?
Oh. When I was like really young, I actually just enjoyed everything that was on the radio and popular at the time. It's like normal kid stuff, actually, you know?
Sure, yeah.
And I guess when I got a bit like more conscious and older, I just followed my brother in a lot of things, and he always had music blasting in his room. So I was like, "Oh, bro, what's that? What's that artist? What's the song?" And then just looked it up, and he was always like, "Oh, you just mimic my my taste and stuff, you know."
Classic older brother stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool, man. So you were just open to any kind of new influence, any kind of idea, and that just kind of sets you off from there. Now, what's interesting to me is that you go from kind of being influenced by all this stuff, and then now you make a very unique kind of genre, like future funk, the kind of music that you generally do. Like, that's not really a mainstream kind of genre. So, how did you discover future funk?
It's been a long ride. I guess it was 4 years ago or 3 years ago. You know, back in the day, like 2013 or maybe 2014, I don't remember exactly. Vaporwave was really a thing, you know?
Sure, yeah.
And I guess I tried to like that. Like, I think before that, I actually was like, oh, people actually enjoyed this kind of music. It was actually like, you know, smack talking it.
Yeah.
And then I actually started liking it and just tried looking up artists on SoundCloud and stuff, YouTube.
Right.
And I already had my SoundCloud, not under the current name, but that's where I actually found Moe Shop, and it was his very first EP, I think. I immediately fell in love. Even though it wasn't necessarily future funk, I just really liked the fusion of like a more electro kind of sound. Like I really like electro music as well, like Justice and stuff, like the heavy French electro. And that combined with like a more warm feeling of samples and stuff.
Right.
And oh man, I was like immediately, I fell in love with it.
Right, dude, and it kind of throws back to like your Daft Punk influences from younger times. I feel like as well.
Yeah. Definitely.
Right, and like you're talking about, that's the cool thing to me about future funk, vaporwave, even hip hop and lo-fi hip hop. The way that they take samples and they make it into a totally new kind of song.
Yeah, that's it exactly.
Exactly. And we'll get into that a little bit more later, but the key thing I wanted to ask you about right here is that you go from disliking vaporwave, smack talking, that kind of culture. Was there any specific reason that changed your perception of the genre?
I think the switch came when I discovered like a more popular future funk.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like a more sped up version of vaporwave, and then I was like, sometimes especially back then, I felt like really in the mood for that kind of like vaporwave aesthetic music. So I started enjoying it more and more.
Gotcha. Okay. So part of it was like a personal thing, like a mood kind of thing for you, but the other side was also like the quality, I guess you could say, of the music. And the reason I asked that is because I feel like there's a lot of judgment from producers whenever they first get into the game of producing. Like, I hate this genre, I love this genre, and then as time goes by, it kind of evens out, and they're kind of like, this genre's not so bad,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's kind of a human thing. So I was curious about what it was for you that changed that. So that's a good answer, though. It was a personal thing, experiencing life and everything. So the other side of the question, though, is a big part of future funk, as you know, is like Japanese disco, Japanese city pop. What was it about city pop that really grabbed your attention and made you interested to make it yourself?
Ooh, yeah, I always loved 80s, 90s music. Not necessarily just Japanese, but even from the Netherlands, just Western, every kind of like pop, funk, disco from the time I just love. I don't know why it is. Maybe because of the taste my parents have. Maybe I got a hold of that or something. I don't know. I just love it. I love the synth. I actually really love synthesizers as well. The complete style of the music. I don't know. I love it.
Yeah, dude. No, I understand, because it's the same way for me. And I think, like you said, a lot of it's from my parents and the music they listened to when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But there's like that sense of nostalgia there, right? Like when you listen to it, it takes you back in time. And
exactly.
What's cool about future funk is that it's nostalgic, but it's also modern. Like how they mix the elements, which is what's super dope about it. Talk to us about whenever you started doing future funk, like your early attempts at it. What was the workflow like? What was the process like?
Even with the future funk, the music itself really looks like the thing I did back in the day when I was little. When I started off producing.
Yeah.
It has a lot of influence from French house. So like short samples, a lot of filters, kind of repetitive in a way. People might find it repetitive, French house. I guess I started off with that, like messing around with the samples, finding a good sample, and actually when I thought like, oh, this is a pretty good sample, I just like messed around and
just grab it,
find the right balance.
It up. Yeah,
exactly. Gotcha. Yeah, I've always sampled my music. I think I've barely made anything original. Maybe, I actually did for a couple of years. Like, actually did hard dance as well. So that was a completely different thing, of course.
Yeah.
So it was really messy at the start for future funk. Yeah.
Sure, and of course, like for the early attempts, of course it will be. What were the key things that helped you kind of balance it out and get better at doing future funk, to go from messy to way more polished? What were the steps you took to get better at that?
Listening to even more future funk was a pretty big thing, I guess, and just improving my skill overall, like my sampling skill. I switched to new software, and that made it a whole lot easier as well. I think good mastering, not necessarily just good mixing, balancing of drums and stuff, percussion. Yeah, I think that about sums it up for that.
Put in the work, man, right? Put in the work.
Yeah.
Just stay with it every day. And real quick, because we're on the topic of samples, I want to dig into this a little bit more because it's a big part of what you do. Firstly, how do you find a sample? What's your methods for finding that perfect sample?
Actually, comes down to when I find a good song from somebody else, and I'm like, I love the sample. I try to find it. I've actually in the past I've spent months on months trying to find a sample to a song by just searching the Japanese lyrics, for example, and I looked up the artist of the sample and just started digging. And I especially love the more rare songs. So that's a way, and it's actually done either through Discogs or local stores, vinyl stores. YouTube, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spotify, even stuff like that.
Sweet, man. Sweet. So just keep your ears open and just keep listening to more and more music. Basically, you'll find something that kind of strikes you. Okay, that makes sense for sure.
Yeah.
And real quick, for your music that you do now, what percentage of it is sampling, and what percentage would you say of it is original creation, if I can ask?
I think for my latest track, Soft Serve, it features more originality than I normally do because I layered some synthesizers, some Rhodes, and I try to make a nice groove with the percussion,
right?
The instrument drums. So I'd say about 50-50, or maybe even 60-40 in favor of samples.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, it really comes down to just layering a good beat,
gotcha.
Basically.
Yeah, and the reason I asked that, because I want to get into this topic that's kind of hot just now. There's so many genres that are popular in the EDM scene. As far as the main ones I can think of would be lo-fi hip-hop, future funk, vaporwave. All of these genres that are very hot right now, and they rely very strongly on samples.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of a bit of discord in the community between, like, you know, original content versus sampled content, and is sampled content still original? So I want to have this chance to ask you, what's your thoughts on this, man? Like, sampling as a legitimate method of original creation. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a hard one.
It's a pretty big question, so take your time to answer.
I sometimes agree with the statement, like, it's basically stealing. Sometimes I agree. It depends on what the artist who samples it does with the sample. Like, there's been many examples in the past few years that they either don't give credit or they just don't do anything special with it. They just actually reuse it. I could say I do the same, yeah, of course, but I don't know. It's a really hard question.
It is, man. It's a difficult question. I don't know if there's one answer for it because everyone has so many different opinions. To me, I personally enjoy the sound of samples and how people used it. Like we talked about how the nostalgia is really strong whenever it's really well used. And to be honest, I shouldn't say this, but even on YouTube these days you can find like the slowed down version of music, like the opposite version of Nightcore where they just slow a song down. And I kind of jam to those as well. Like, I feel like that's kind of cool as well. Even though it's very, you know, it's just literally slowed down. But, you know, like you said, I think it does come down to the intention of the person recreating it. Like, what are they trying to do with it? Are they trying to just ride on the fame of it, or are they trying to make their own kind of sound and style with it? I think that is an important part of it. Yeah. Have you faced any difficulty because of using samples, whether from copyright strikes or people disliking it or something like this?
No, not so far, actually. No. I guess maybe that's why I tend to look for a more rare sample. But no, I haven't had any trouble so far.
Okay, awesome. And hopefully it continues that way.
Yeah,
because that would be definitely not good.
Yeah.
ったんですけど、今回この1本だけなんですよね。最後は。そっか。ではまず第5話を見ていきましょう。カウントダウンをするので、皆さんそれに合わせてアニメの再生ボタンを押してくださいね。では5秒前、3、2、1、スタート。
Alright, man, so we're talking a lot about future funk and you're woke in that. Is there any other genres that you're interested in pursuing or woking in beyond just future funk?
Yeah, like I've said, I've already done a lot of genres. I mean, I started out with hip hop and I went to like a more future, French house kind of vibe, disco. I did hard dance. I did jazz hop. Now I'm here.
Yeah, exactly.
I really like,
but I really like genres like you haven't really pushed yourself too much on the internet with. Like I feel like you've mostly promoted the future funk stuff. So do you want to promote like with those other genres or woke them into your sound eventually?
I think so. For hip hop, definitely. I love hip hop still, of course, and I just haven't tried the past couple of years. Not really.
Right.
Yeah. With some other stuff like more original music, more electronical music, like trance, I sometimes really love because it gets you get in a trance, so to say, and you get a good vibe from it.
The energy is so good.
Yeah, definitely. Future bass is a thing I also love.
Yeah, of course, and I can understand that because I feel like it kind of relates back to like the Japanese culture. I feel like future bass is very deeply rooted in like the whole like anime scene and the
yeah,
people
definitely.
who love Japanese culture. And let's talk about that for a minute because I feel like Japanese culture does play a big part in your your artistry. Is that correct?
Yeah, very true.
Okay, talk to us a little bit about that, man. Like, how has the Japanese culture impacted you, and like, what do you take from it?
Oh, also came from my brother. Yeah, back in the day, it was like the moment I was like, "Oh, dude, anime." He was watching an anime called Minamike. It was the first one I ever saw, and it's still my favorite to this day. I think it was 12 years ago. Yeah, I started watching that, and I watched one episode with him, and then I started watching it by myself, and I think I finished the whole season in 4 days, 3 days, something like that. Yeah, I still love that one very much, and I think that feeling never really went away for me. I'm just a closet weep, actually, so easy to say. I'm in my room.
Yeah, and let's talk about that for a minute. Like, I've seen a few pictures of your creative space, like on Twitter. I believe you posted some pictures there.
Yeah, true.
So describe to us, or you can show us if you want, like your creative space, and talk to us about how it helps you creatively with making music and stuff.
I actually changed my room last week, so it's not entirely accurate to what you may have seen on Twitter. But yeah, I could show, but I'm afraid my camera won't stay in the same position.
Go for it, man. You can try it if you want.
Let's go.
We're about to take a tour. We're about to take a tour of the studio, guys.
Okay, so let me actually double click this.
Yeah.
The wall right there.
There we go. We got some anime posters up there.
Yeah, there's one missing. I see now the blank space there. There used to be one. I think it fell down when I changed my room. But this is where my desk used to stand below.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I'm now actually on the other side of the room. So, and right here are just a bunch of figures. I actually got more in my closet. I still haven't put them up yet.
Dude, that's super nice.
You're right.
Well, I like how it's like it's not like I like the white walls and like how the anime stuff is kind of like it kind of flowers the space. It's not overwhelming. It's just like perfectly.
It's really like making a contrast or something.
Exactly, man. Exactly. So talk to us about how having this stuff around you. How does that influence you when you're making art?
I'm not sure if it does. I guess it does, but
subconsciously, maybe.
it's just like the feeling I get from it, like having it around.
Nice.
The stuff I like.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Yeah,
I got it.
Positive vibes from it.
Then a little bit on that about the creative side of stuff. Do you ever struggle with writer's block or not being able to come up with something?
I always have writer's block, definitely. Always.
Wow.
Yeah.
Strong words coming from a music producer.
I think today is my only exception so far in the past few months. So I actually found a killer sample when I was working on it until we were talking right now. So
that's incredible, man. Okay, so talk to us about going through writer's block. How do you feel at that time, and what is it that takes you out of it?
I feel when I get stuck, I mostly get stuck on stuff like it's the sample. It actually may sound good to another person, but I'm not really happy with it myself. Like somebody else would like, oh, this is amazing, but I'm like, meh, no, this is far below my standards, stuff like that.
Right.
I have always struggled with that, so even with the other styles of music, I was like, not good enough. So that's why my SoundCloud page is not really flooded with music. While I do have about, I think, 400 unfinished projects. So
wow.
In total, yeah, I lost the files, but that's about the total of the past 5 years, I think.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Man. Okay, so when going through writer's block, it's pretty difficult. You have some high standards for yourself. What is it that eventually snaps you out of like that writer's block?
I suddenly, like mostly at night, like or rather early in the morning, I sometimes get like bursts of inspiration and energy. And sometimes I don't even listen to the project for weeks or months on end. Like one of my tracks on SoundCloud, Your Love. It was actually a project I had laying around for I think a year and a half, and then one night I was like, "It's actually killer," and I started mixing it differently, adding more compression, stuff like that, different drum samples, chopping up the sample even more, and I think I finished it in 3 hours. So,
dude, wow.
Yeah.
That's super cool. And that's amazing. So how long do you normally spend whenever you're producing a song? If 3 hours was like super fast, like how long would you estimate for like a full-blown track?
I actually don't really spend a lot of time. It really varies on the kind of music, but if we're talking future funk, I think it will go into somewhere between 10 to 30, even 40, sometimes like maybe 100. It depends on which project it is. Soft Surf, I actually did in 2 days, like in 2 separate sessions, so to say.
Yeah.
I got like the foundation on in one night, and then I finished it up the other night. So I guess that was about 4 hours in total. I just had to it depends on the sample, let's say that. Like,
right.
If I get a good sample, it's like easy. You don't have to.
Yeah, well, it sets off your creativity, and you can kind of walk from that. I feel like.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool, man, and I can relate because I feel like the best songs I've made are the ones that were like snap bang. Like I just like started working on it, and like 2 hours later, it's pretty much finished. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
when you're able
those
to.
Are the ones.
Yeah, fit in like all that work in a very short amount of time, and the quality is just perfect. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That is cool. And as we're talking about this, I do want to bring up mental health a little bit because I know it's something that a lot of us creators do struggle with as far as whether it's depression or anxiety or it could be a million different things. How do you stay healthy mentally? How do you handle that kind of stuff?
I guess it's nature, but for me, I don't really get stressed out really quickly. Like, some people are more vulnerable to it, I guess. I don't really recall having stress once in my life. I'm like a really laid-back person, but that's kind of the way I was raised as well. As far as that goes, it also, I think, negatively impacts my lifestyle. Like, sometimes I'd stay up until like 4 in the morning, while I have to go to school at 7 in the morning. You know, that's actually what happened last Sunday to Monday. So.
Dude.
Yeah.
So you have like the flip side of the problem, basically.
Yeah, it's not always like that, but like the other day, I get like, oh, I want to work on stuff or I want to play games. And then
I know what you mean. Like even literally like just last night, I was up to like 4 o'clock doing voice chat with my friends because we were talking about like music stuff, and it was like,
nice.
This is important. I have to work tomorrow, but this is important. And
yeah,
you know, so once you get in that frame of mind, it's hard to break out of it. And by the way, you've mentioned a few times that you're kind of like a night animal, basically.
Yeah.
Is there any particular reason for that?
Lifestyle, I guess. I think 3 years ago, 2 years, 3 years ago, I was like done with high school. But that was in 2011. I was done with high school, and I didn't really know what to do as a follow-up course. So I had a break for a year. It's like a really inspirational break, you could say, for music and stuff. Discovering more stuff, discovering who I am, and I didn't really go on the trip, but just the stuff I like.
Yeah,
I discovered.
Like mentally and creatively, it was kind of like a break.
Yeah. I spent time with my best friend. We still spend time almost every day. Back then we liked the same stuff. He was also really into the Japanese stuff, anime as well, and stuff. So he's not anymore, but I kind of stuck around, I guess.
Right.
I guess like the night owl lifestyle came from that. Like we'd spend, just like you said just now, spend into the night.
Yeah.
Voice chatting around.
Exactly.
Until like 5 a.m.
Right.
I actually recall one day we were on a voice chat. I think we started at like 12 p.m. and we went until 4 or 5 a.m. the next day.
Oh my gosh.
And then we started like going on runs outside, just to stay fit. Like we wanted to start running.
Yeah.
To stay fit,
dude.
But we did it. Yeah. So we didn't stretch or anything. So we were like broken afterward, and I felt bad for 2 weeks after. I felt so sore.
Oh man. But the memory, that's legendary. Like to just have that experience, dude. That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's
It still comes up from day to day.
Yeah, it's moments like that I think that make life fun or interesting. You can look back and have
exactly. Yeah,
memories that kind of make it up. And so we're talking about music and your lifestyle and all this kind of stuff. Do you see music as like a long-term career for you, or is it more like a hobby kind of thing?
I think I do see it more as a hobby. That depends on like the mood, I guess. Like sometimes I'd be hours on end making music, but like recently I haven't really spent a lot of time making music or producing or anything. So I guess it depends. If I'm totally into music, I get a feeling like maybe I could like earn a bit of money from it, but it's not one of my goals. My goals is just to entertain, I guess.
Gotcha.
Put out my work, stuff like that.
That's cool. That's cool though. Yeah, I know for a lot of artists they prefer to do it as like as full time or as work basically. But it's interesting to meet the ones who do it just because it's a hobby. Yeah, that is pretty cool though. And so that being the case, what are some of your goals for music in the future, if you have any? Some of the heights you want to reach with your music, basically.
Well, I definitely have like some short time or long time goals. I don't know. Collaborating with certain people would be amazing for me. I really want to get like the future funk and more like the Japanese scene back here in the Netherlands. There isn't really any place for that you could go to at night, like have a party or something. Doesn't exist yet, unfortunately. So that's the kind of stuff I would like to see here, like to get actually like maybe a local fan base or like a local group we could hang out with and like make music, make this kind of future funk and jam out at night, have parties, stuff.
Yep.
That would be really amazing. Like I have a lot of people on Twitter, like in America and in Japan, and it looks so lit. I want that as well.
Dude, that's really cool. It's cool to me that I feel like that's kind of an impact you want to make as a musician, somewhat. And I think it's cool that the impact you want to make is kind of a cultural one. Rather than like a selfish one, you could say. So if that's really, something you would want to do, what are some of the steps that you would take to achieve that, if you have any idea?
I haven't really put much thought into that. I guess it was only recently I started showing my stuff to my friends, like my close friends. I actually got them into future funk as well, which is pretty cool. So I guess that's a start for something. I just putting out more music, maybe promoting it, maybe a little bit better. I'm pretty bad at that, but
everybody is.
I guess.
Yeah, I gotcha, man. I feel like something cool that you would be able to do would be maybe like a festival. I think a festival could be one option you could look at. Getting together different artists, inviting them to come together. That would be a great way to do it. Yeah. Further on, like maybe launch a club of some kind, or like something like that. But
that would be super dope. Yeah.
Basically, I guess you'd have to team up with like some kind of promoter and then contact different future funk artists that would be okay with flying in.
Yeah, actually, my brother is a professional nightlife photographer. He's actually really a pretty big deal in Amsterdam in the nightlife there. He has a lot of contacts, and I don't know if you know Selection.
I've heard of him.
Selection Radio. It's like a collaborative group in America. He actually said to me once, like, it was back when I made hip hop and stuff, the kind of music. He was like, "Dude, you should send him some stuff to me. I could show it to him, make him listen to it." I was like, "Dude," but now I guess I could like message my stuff to him, and then I said like, spread it around, Right, maybe some club in there in Amsterdam would like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. Let's like find some people and or just yeah, something like that. I don't know.
That could totally work, man. That's actually a good idea for sure.
Yeah.
Or even if you're okay with it, like doing DJ, like you could DJ at a few clubs or something. You know, hit them up and be like,
Yeah.
let me spin, because that would be another great way to sneak into the culture. You know.
Yeah, that's a great idea, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the only thing you'd need would be some gear, possibly. You might need some turntables or whatever, but yeah, that'd be pretty dope.
Yeah.
Okay,
definitely.
so. Question: do you ever think about your life without music and what it would be like?
I hate the thought, actually. Ugh. No, music has always been a huge deal to me, I guess. Yeah. Without music,
what would it be like, man?
Yeah, I mean, like production is the stuff I just go back to when I'm bored, maybe, or when I don't really have anything to do, and if I get inspiration, I don't know where else to put it besides music. So
that's cool, man. So it's kind of always been there for you.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. Okay, then looking back at your over your years as a musician, what are some of the most important things you've learned? And I'm asking this kind of for the audience, stuff that they should be looking out for, stuff they can learn from your experience. What are some of the top things you've learned producing music over the last several years?
I think what I like to do is make create some sort of surprise in your track. Especially for future funk, like some samples could render the song very repetitive. So I like to do something different, like slow down, speed it up, add a little bit of more bass or something. I think like a musical surprise could work. Just good mastering, good sounds. That's really experience based though, but I don't know. I guess stuff like that, like the little things, could work really well.
Right. Okay. It's kind of the technical side of stuff. Like, just get better at your art and pay attention to the small things. Yeah, that's true, man. I agree. It's very important. And as far as your music, what are some of the feelings you want to convey or the emotions you want to express with the songs you make?
Happiness. That's all. maybe some euphoria, but it's mostly just happiness. I love happy music. I don't necessarily classify my music as future funk. Sometimes I do, but like some of the tracks I am working on and I have worked on, I couldn't really like put a genre on them. They're just like happy songs, and one would call them like moe step, but I think it's a bit cheeky something. But
yeah,
I actually at one point I started calling my music lollipop.
Wow.
Because of like the high pitched voices, I always pitch up my samples to make them just sound cute.
Yeah.
That's the stuff I just like about it. Like I love to make cute music. So to say,
I like that. That's really cool, dude. And yeah, by the way, I wanted to apologize because I did mention that you were like a future funk producer throughout the episode, but I didn't want to tie you down like to one label.
No. But you're kind of right about that. I do label it down like as future funk. But I guess cute future funk. I don't know.
It's unfortunate that genres play such a big part of music, I feel like, because it can really limit the creativity, and that's something I really strongly I think about it a lot, you know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Sometimes I label my stuff anti-genre because I don't want people to have like preconceptions of like what it should sound like or whatever.
Yeah, I know.
Share your thoughts on this, man, about genres, you know, kind of limiting creativity.
Yeah, that's definitely a factor. I mean, I know exactly what it is. Back when I made hard dance and hardstyle and that kind of stuff, I was like always messing around with something new, but I was like, well, it doesn't really sound like that genre. And I guess it's the same for future funk as well. Like people limit themselves to try to make it sound like some sort of thing, but I always try not to for myself, and that's why my style varies so much. If you like, some of my tracks are completely different from the other. So that's why, for me, varies a lot. And it definitely holds back creativity, I think.
It's true,
putting
man.
it in a genre.
Yeah, for sure. And your tracks they do vary a lot. I remember one track of yours, I forgot the name, but for the most part, it's kind of upbeat, kind of happy, of course, like future funk, that's what people would call it. And then at the end, it kind of gets slowed down into like more of a vaporwave kind of break. And I forgot the song title. I think it's Your Love, but I'm not for sure. But yeah, and so it's true. You do like, I can notice how you vary stuff up and like that.
Yeah.
Was there any tips that you have for people on how to break away from those kind of limitations? How to step out of those limitations?
I think it's a part of acceptance as well. Wow, how to put it? I think the reason I haven't really put up a lot of music on SoundCloud is because I was exactly in that way, like limiting myself to a genre. I just let go of it. I was like, if I can make more and better music, then why not, you know? Just try to accept it and just hope that there's someone out there who likes it.
I get it, man. That's cool. It's very true. I agree. I think, like you said about acceptance, it's so much of life is about coming back to who we are and kind of tapping into what we're really about, you know? Rather than basing who we are off of what we see, which happens way too often, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
And it's supported by a lot of the systems in our life, whether it's school system, or woke system, or social system. And, you know, we're kind of surrounded by people that tell us, like, here's the norm, and we should try to live up to this,
dude,
or whatever.
That's exactly what I wanted to say. Holy.
Yeah, dude, I feel you on that one. It's very true, and I think it's important that we talk about it because it happens so much. You know, I want to get more people to realize that it's possible to break out of the system, and it's very encouraged to break out of the system. You know?
Oh man, that gets really close to home. Yeah.
Yeah, especially I think for music, because music is like a direct line to people and how they think. You know.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, and then looking back through your career, man, what were some of the landmark moments for you as a musician? Some of the moments that really hit you as like, I love what I'm doing, or I'm always gonna remember this.
I think for starters, it's like when people tell me they love it. It always puts me in a good mood. I'm like, it works. I didn't do it for myself. So stuff like that. I think one of the key moments for me in my so-called career, I guess, was a repost on SoundCloud. It was just a single repost from somebody, Eritas. great future funk producer, and he reposted my very first like anime influence song, and man, that went. Woo. I think when I released that, or when that happened, I had a pretty bad time that week. A lot of stuff happened, and I felt really bad. And that happened, and it lifted me up completely. It was amazing. I got like 4,000 listens in a couple of days. I was like, what?
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, that's
so
incredible.
that was one of my cool moments, so to say, and it kind of for soft serve, it just went by itself. I uploaded it. I was like, the other songs didn't get really that much attention, and then soft serve, I just put it on SoundCloud, like put it on the shelf in that way, and then like overnight it got 1K. It was like, what?
Dude, that's so cool. What was the reason for that? Do you have any idea like why it went so over so well?
No, actually don't know. I guess it's more back to the basics, more to the roots of what future funk is, and then add a bit of my cutesy style to it, like
Sure.
my more anime style to it. But I don't know why it got so much recognition. I don't really recall a lot of people, like a lot of big people, reposting it or promoting it. It just happened. I don't know. I guess because it blew up.
Yeah, dude, it's like it's lucky. That's super cool.
Yeah,
though,
definitely.
man.
Yeah, I'm super happy about it.
Yeah, but not just luck, because I mean, you put in a lot of work into your music and your sound. Like you were really learning from every new song you did. So it definitely wasn't just luck. It was definitely skill involved. So congratulations to you on that. And,
thank you. Thank you.
You started off the question by talking a little bit about like your fan base. Tell us more about like your fan base and how feedback and reactions, how they affect you.
I take everything like positive, like even constructive feedback. I'm like, yeah, I can work on that if somebody says it. I do have a little group of fans, I think. They always stick around. Very grateful for them. It definitely gives you a bit more a huge motivation to make more music. Just to maybe the idea to do it for them just helps a lot already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true, man. That's really cool. And I like how a lot of what you were saying today is about like happiness, positive thinking, and this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Does this stuff go through your mind like on the daily? Is it something you're always thinking about as far as like positivity or being motivated?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just like also a sucker for just cute stuff, you know. It's because of my ex-girlfriend. she kind of put me in that kind of stuff, you know, and like a lot of my music which I put out over the last few years was all because of her, because she showed me some amazing Japanese anime franchises and stuff.
Right.
And I guess that also stuck around, and stuff like that just makes me happy, you know, and it gives you like a more motivation to work on that kind of music as well.
That's cool, man.
So yeah.
Well, and that's how it works too. I mean, like if we feel happy, we're able to do more, which makes other people feel happy, and it's kind of like a nice ecosystem, you know, of
true
positivity. So I love that. It's really good. And then real quick, I want to jump to where you are right here, right now. What are some of the projects you're working on that we can look forward to in the near future?
Last summer I actually wanted to do a summer kind of vibe album or EP. Well, that didn't happen, unfortunately. That was also a writer's block mostly. I want to overhaul the complete album, and I guess I hope to put it out the start of next year. I have nothing really set.
Like no concrete details, okay?
No, yeah, exactly. So I try to put out as much as good music as I can. The stuff I accept for myself, you know, like the stuff like I'm happy with. And I'll think about that, and then I guess I'll just throw it in the album and then finally release it, because I've been planning to release an album as Trikronika for 3 years now, so it never happened.
A little bit overdue.
Yeah, I should just cross the line and do it, I guess.
All right, man. Fantastic. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
I kind of have a few questions about it real quick.
Sure.
Do you think that it's a negative thing having that kind of standard for yourself, where you're like, oh, this isn't good enough, or this isn't exactly what I wanted to say? Do you think that holds you back at all?
I think it's both negative and positive and negative. I sometimes, because of it, get really demotivated. But the other day, it gives me even more drive to work on myself. So that happened with soft serve as well. I think I pushed my own boundary. It's completely different from what I did before, both in like quality and sound. And that's because of my writer's blog. I mean, it's between soft serve and the track before that, it's I think longer than a year. So I had to actually push myself to accept it. Something like that.
Wow. That's pretty interesting, man. It's the first time I've heard someone say that it's both positive and negative, but it's cool if it works for you. I mean, keep doing it.
Yeah.
And with the new album that you're working on, can we expect more promotion for it, or are you just gonna put it out there quietly?
I think for this time I'm gonna promote it, definitely. Yeah. Awesome. I'll try to find my ways.
Okay. Yeah, and promotion, I'm assuming mostly just like on the internet, right? Or are you talking about physical CDs?
I actually want to do that as well, but I'll try to get a bit more like popular.
Okay.
I guess.
Because physical CDs, like those are pretty awesome. I'm not sure if you know the artist City Girl, but she put out a physical CD just recently. Had someone do the art, and it was just fantastic, man. It was like it looked beautiful. And
I think I scrolled by it on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was on Twitter that it was kind of like blowing up a little bit, and
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool because like to me as a producer as well, I was like, oh, I want to do that also, put out a physical CD. So
yeah, that would be awesome. Cool. That would be amazing. Yeah.
It would be, man. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump on to. I always have some fan questions, and so today I have 2 fan questions.
Ooh, interesting.
So let's get into it. I'm not sure if you want to answer the first one. It's a little bit silly, but the question is, do you watch hentai?
I don't watch it.
Right. And the next question is a little more serious. Any plans for a Show by Rock remix?
Oh my. That's a clever one. That's for my name. I actually have already looked into it, but that was about like a year or 2 years back. I couldn't really find anything concrete to sample or play around with, but I'll guess I'll just have to keep looking for the right thing. And I was already planning to do something from Show by Rock, yeah.
All right, awesome, man. So if the opportunity opens up, you'll go for it. That's cool.
Yeah, definitely.
And real quick about your name, explain it to the audience real quick. Where did you get it from? What does it mean?
Trikronika, although my version is spelled differently, like the first K is originally a C and H. It's a boy band from the anime called Show by Rock. It's a really silly show. It's from the makers from like Hello Kitty and My Melody and stuff. It's about a girl who gets transported into a musical world. She turns into a cat girl, and she's friends with a sheep girl, a bunny girl, and I can't recall the other one. But once they started creating a band, and she played guitar, and every time they went on stage, they would transform into this little chibi kind of style, 3D animated little animals, like the cute animals, and they rocked the show. It was amazing.
Dude, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I kind of want to watch it now. What was it about that show that made you want to like take the name and like use it for yourself?
I actually had a lot of struggle like finding a good name, and I think at one point I was on the Wikipedia something for Show by Rock, and I saw the name like scroll by. I was like, damn, that's pretty sick.
Yeah,
something like that.
Awesome, man. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks.
So it's been a great episode. I like all the stuff we talked about. For all the guests, I always have one last section where I do like a spitfire round. Ask a quick question, quick response, and we just go like that.
Cool.
Ready, man?
Yeah, man.
Let's get into it. 3, 2, 1. What is your favorite food?
It's a Dutch thing. Like boerenkool.
Boerenkool. Very good. What is your favorite weekend activity?
Playing games.
What is your favorite color?
Pink.
What countries do you want to visit?
America and Japan.
What languages do you speak?
Dutch, English. English I can understand. Spoken German, written German, and basic Japanese.
And what is your favorite social media platform?
Twitter.
All right, man, that's all of them. Dude, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. Everything you talked about, just giving us insight to your process and inspiration. Before we go, is there any last words you want to say to the audience listening?
If you're a producer, just keep pushing. If you get blocked by any emotions, try to convey them into inspiration. Do whatever it takes to keep pushing yourself to put out more music and maybe make somebody else happy with it.
All right, awesome, man. Everybody, Trikronika. Trikronika, I got it.
Trikronika.
This dude is incredible. He makes some dope music. He's not tied down to one genre. He has incredible influence. I love his positivity and the way he pushes happiness. And I'm really excited to see what he does from now on into the future. So I encourage you guys as well to check him out, subscribe, follow. Just keep an eye on his career because for sure he's going places. Thank you for joining us. I will see you next time. Thank you for listening.